Hello Dragon Wisps, welcome to today's video. I'm Joseph, also known as the Dragon Whisperer. For today, we're going to be continuing the Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 tutorials, walkthroughs, things like that. For those of you who've been keeping up, we've finished with the races, well, the base races anyway. Later on, after I'm done helping with like basic character creation, we can get into more detail. For example, like, you got the dwarves in the player's handbook. However, there are different variations of dwarves that are available in the Dungeons & Dragons game. So, like, you've got hill dwarves and mountain dwarves, cave dwarves, which is slightly different than a mountain dwarf. And, like, they all have different specializations. So, like, if you were to throw together a party of dwarves, you've got your bases covered. But we're not going to get into that right now. Right now, you've chosen from, your basic races: dwarf, elf, half-elf, human, halfling, gnome, half-orc. So now we're going to choose classes. So the first class I'm going to discuss is the Barbarian, because we're going in order. Now, Barbarians are very similar to fighters, except for some changes. Like, a barbarian is meant to be more of a wild fighter, as it were. Lighter armor, they can move faster, they get a rage attack per day, which also increases as you advance in levels as a barbarian. So there's always that to look forward to. The barbarian that comes in the book is Krusk. And as you can see, he's half-orc. Maybe even full orc. Let's see. Nope, he is a half-orc. And the player's handbook does provide cardboard cutouts for each class, so that, like, let's say you wanted to, like it used to be, like, way back in the beginning, you want to just get into the action. You've got your cardboard cutout characters already made in the player's handbook. So you could just play Krusk the Barbarian if you don't feel like customizing it and making your barbarian your own. Anyway, so a barbarian tends to come from an uncivilized land, usually in the wilderness, woods, like forests, things like that. Most races actually have barbarians in their class ranks, because, like I said, they're more like a wild fighter. And then even human barbarians, they come from lands outside of the regular civilization. They have a tendency to worship Cord, the god of strength, Obed-Hai, the god of nature, or Arithnul, the god of slaughter. All of these realistically serve the barbarian beliefs. Obviously, Cord and Arithnul, strength and slaughter, but then even Obed-Hai with nature, because, like I said, they're wilder. They're from nature. A lot of people will view the barbarian class as just, it's all about getting angry and just destroying things, but realistically, barbarians know how to take care of, like, the nature around them. So it's not always that situation. I'm gonna turn the camera a bit. There. Now it actually looks like it's looking at me. Let's see. As far as races go, like I said, all races. Obviously, your more martial races, like your barbarian or human, or not barbarian, a half-orc human. Like, obviously they're more, even dwarves, they're more suited for the barbarian. Half-orcs get their bonus to strength, dwarves get higher constitution, humans are just diverse. But even halflings and gnomes can have barbarians. One thing, one big restriction you have to think about when it comes to a barbarian is that they are never lawful. This is generally represented by like how wild they are. So lawful tendencies don't really suit a chaotic nature. If that makes sense. Now, working with other classes, barbarians get along well with fighters, obviously. Rangers, druids, clerics of nature deities. They like bards to a degree because they like just how chaotic their tendencies can be, with regards to, well, the spontaneity and everything. Not the stereotypical bards being responsible for 99% of half-breeds. They don't really understand like wizards because book magic, it's all about being smart, and barbarians honestly aren't very smart. Like, they're not the most intelligent. Paladins, rogues, they're more or less indifferent towards. And then clerics that aren't relative to nature or strength or anything. And I think they're comfortable with sorcerers, but not 100%. Because, say a sorcerer is more chaotic magic than a wizard in a way. Okay, no, that's not right, but it doesn't require a spellbook. Alright. Now, we'll get into more character creation depth for the barbarian. Let's see, abilities. So ability scores that work best for the barbarian would be strength, dexterity, wisdom. Wisdom goes well with their class skills. Strength, for obvious reasons, smashy. Dexterity, because like I said, they do wear lighter armor than fighters, so they need to be able to dodge better. Plus, restricts their movement. Anyway, and obviously constitution. Higher constitution allows the barbarian to rage for longer, and obviously live a lot longer, because when he's raging, he's running headfirst into the battle. Alignment, like I said before, non-lawful, and their hit die is a D12, making the barbarian the highest hit point of the base classes. Now, the skill list, it's a super long skill list, so we'll go through those. Our climb, craft, handle animal, intimidate, jump, listen, ride, survival, and swim. Like I said, so many skills for barbarian. Obviously, barbarian doesn't have to worry about skills. Barbarian lets his weapon do the talking. The skill points they get is 4 plus their intelligence modifier, except at first level when they get 4 times that amount. Unfortunately, that usually means they're not getting a lot of skill points because barbarians don't generally have high intelligence. Weapon and armor proficiency. Barbarians are proficient with all simple and martial weapons, and light and medium armor, and shields except for tower shields. So the light and the medium armor obviously represent, they're still able to move freely. Yeah. So first level stuff that a barbarian gets is a base attack bonus +1. I'm not going to go through all of the special class features for the barbarian because the majority of them are level up bonuses. So, we can discuss at a later date how to go about leveling up. Anyway, so base attack bonus is +1. Barbarians get full attack bonus as they level. So this means it does go up by 1 every level, and then once they hit level 6, they get a second attack, the third attack at level 11, and so on. Because you get an extra attack for every +5 or +6 that you have in your base attack bonus. They get a +2 to their fortitude save, but they don't get a reflex or will save bonus. Now the special abilities we get for our level 1 barbarian is fast movement, in which case, in which a barbarian moves 10 feet faster, or 2 squares, than normal for their race. So if you've got a halfling barbarian, they move 30 feet, or 6 squares. A human or half-orc barbarian, they move 40 feet, or 8 squares. As long as they're wearing no armor, light armor, or medium armor, and not carrying what's considered a heavy load. Now, you apply this bonus before any modifications happen to their speed bonus. So if they're under a spell that slows them down, let's say it cuts their movement speed by half, you would have them up with the +10 feet before you divide it. So if he's moving at 40 feet, hit with a spell that causes him to move at half speed, he's now moving at 20 feet. Okay, so they caused a bit of an issue. So they explain it in the book primarily that they need to be wearing no armor, light armor, medium armor, and not carry a heavy load. But further down in the description, they're saying with medium armor or a medium load, the speed, they lose their speed bonus. So I'm not entirely sure. I guess realistically you could leave it up to your dungeon master to decide. I'm pretty sure the way we've played it has always been you have to wear light armor, but I'm not certain. Anyway, so that, like I said, +10 to speed, which comes in handy. They're illiterate, so they don't automatically know how to read and write. However, you can spend 2 skill points to have your barbarian be literate. That being said, if a barbarian gains a level in another class, like fighter or bard, things like that, they automatically gain literacy. However, if another class becomes a barbarian, they don't lose their literacy. So it's not something you just forget. And then rage. Barbarians can fly into a screaming blood frenzy a certain number of times per day, which, like I said, does increase as you level up. They get stronger, more durable, but they become worse at defending themselves. So they get a +4 bonus to strength, a +4 bonus to constitution, a +2 bonus on will saves, but they take a -2 penalty to their armor class. The increase in constitution increases the barbarian's hit points by 2 points per level, which, is represented by the +4. But they go away at the end of the rage when the constitution drops back to normal. The extra hit points are not lost first, like temporary hit points are. So when you come out of your rage, if you've got less than, 0 hit points, you're unconscious. You can't use any charisma, dex, or intelligence-based skills, except for balance, escape artist, intimidate, and ride. The concentration skill, or any abilities that require patience or concentration, you can't use magic, or activate magic items that require a command word. You can use any feat except combat expertise, item creation feats, metamagic feats. So basically, it's like a berserk. You fly into this rage. You can't do anything intelligent, but you can smash. So the Hulk. I guess the Hulk would be a prime example of a barbarian going into rage, except for the becoming large and green. Anyway, your rage lasts for a number of rounds equal to 3 plus your character's constitution modifier. And this is the new constitution modifier with your +4 constitution. You can end the rage prematurely. After the rage is ended, you become fatigued, which gives you a -2 to strength and dexterity, and you can't charge or run for the duration of the current encounter, unless you're a level 17 barbarian, which point you don't have that limitation. You can only fly into 1 rage per encounter. And then at 4th level and every 4 levels past that, you can fly into a rage an extra time per day. So that covers the basic, like the level 1 basics for the barbarian class. A barbarian who becomes lawful, and this is one of the big issues here. If you become lawful, you lose the ability to rage and can't gain any more levels as a barbarian. You keep all your other benefits, damage reduction if you've gained it, your fast movement, trap sense, and your uncanny dodge. But let's be honest, without the rage, you've lost what makes a barbarian a barbarian. And there you have it. Barbarian class, the first class of the 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons game. The barbarian is what I call... Okay, so I like to split the D&D classes into 3 different subtypes. You've got your fighter, or martial class. You've got your magic user. You've got your specialist. Your specialist has a bunch of skills. Your magic user is obvious. So barbarian is fighter. Now there are points where these 3 can overlap with each other, but not in the case of barbarian. Barbarian is all about the martial. All right. Now for the part where I talk about my most and least favorite barbarians. My favorite barbarian that I've played was a Raptoran barbarian. His name was Griffith the Whitehawk. And he was a leader of a small army. And he had come across an enemy general. And the way he handled it was absolutely genius. So they were in a large tower, a large wooden tower, and he kept trying to fight his way further and further up, but kept running into more and more enemies. So he gave up. He gave up on climbing. Instead, he went down to the basement, where he found the support beam that was holding up the majority of the tower. He flew into a rage, and he destroyed that beam. He managed to get out before the tower collapsed completely onto him. The general got away because he was also a Raptoran. We didn't know that part yet. But it was a while before that general could act again, having lost the majority of his forces. Least favorite. I was the only martial class, Barbarian, in an entire party of wizards and sorcerers, clerics. I didn't fit in well, and the majority of the problems that we came across required smarter people to solve them. So I was a glorified bodyguard. But alas. He got the job done, but not the best job. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope you'll consider making your first character as a barbarian. I do generally recommend you use one of the martial classes because you can learn more. Like, you can learn the game without having to focus so hard on jumping into all the intricacies of the magic user or the specialist. So, don't forget to tune in next month for the Bard. And yeah, feel free to comment below other videos you'd like to see on the channel. And feel free to ask questions. I have no problem answering them. Hope to see you next time. And until then, no, that's not the right one. Anyway, so right about now, you should be getting a subscribe button up here, a latest video on the channel here, video recommended for you by YouTube here, and a playlist of the Dungeons & Dragons tutorials. Thank you again for joining me, and as always, have a peaceful day. Bye.